and welcome to Power Poppy. I'm Allison Cope, and today we're going to be talking about Brusho. This is some really fun watercolor product, and let's take a look inside the boxes. I just happen to have two assorted packs, and I've actually mixed them all up and kind of color-coded them for my own personal use. So inside the box, you'll get a product information, and all of your little tins here will come looking like this. They won't have anything on the top. Okay, they've got a nice kind of a zippered seal on them. All of mine remain actually closed, and how I open them and sprinkle my color is actually by using a pinhole in the top of each of the containers. I only use a small amount of powder, so all I need is a sprinkle. So one single dot works perfectly, and I just plug it up with these fun little tacks here. I've also taken some watercolor paper and colored up each one of my paper circles that sits on the top, so I kind of have an idea as to what color is in each little pot. So I have every color in the rainbow, basically. All my neutrals are in my other small little box. So it just makes it easier to find the bottle instead of looking for a color name. At least I have an idea. If I'm looking for a green, I've got these four to pick from, and I just have to go, oh, well, that's the color I'm looking for. And all the names are listed clearly on the bottles, so you'll have an idea as to that information. Plus, I went and made myself a little color chart because it's so much easier to go, oh, I'm really looking for a purple, and this is the purple that I want. So I know I just have to go search my little box there. And there's kind of two sides to each color. There's kind of a sprinkled side for the most part. Some of them didn't work out as well as others. So it shows you some of the particles that make up the color. Obviously, when you want to make purple, you combine your blues and your reds. So all the particles within that little pot look like this. But when you actually mix them to create a solid color, this is what they mix to be. So all of the colors are swatched like that. I think I'm missing, what, 3 colors? I just haven't bothered to grab them from my local art store. But yeah, lots of possibility and pretty stuff. So we're going to play with those today. So we're going to be working with one of our XL sets, and this is the Tiger Lily XL. And you want to know something? We have some more goodies coming in this line. So stay tuned to the end of April when we have some new collections that are coming in the XL series. You're going to love them. So I've started out with a piece of Strathmore watercolor paper. This is a cold press paper, and it is a heavyweight 140-pound paper. So we've taken my Tiger Lily XL image, and I've stamped it twice using some Simon Says Fog ink, and I wanted a lighter ink than black. I didn't want something so stark, so that's why I went with a fog or a gray. Then, while my image was still in my stamp tool, I put my Versamark over top and added some clear embossing powder. So now the image is embossed. So I'm not sure if you can see the shine or not. There it is. So both of the lilies are embossed with clear. Now, what is the blue, you ask? I am playing it safe today, and I'm using my Molotow art masking liquid pen. And when I've done, it's got this really pretty good nib on it, and I have colored up all of the insides, the stamens of my flowers. I don't really want to paint over them. I want to make sure that detail stays there, so that's why I've masked them off today. All right, let's get going with our Brusho. Now this coloring technique is pretty easy because basically your Brusho is going to do all the work. So all you need to do to start, and I've decided we're going to use an orange and a vermilion, and we'll see how that works out. So it's kind of like a corally pink and a light orange. Those are the two colors I've decided on. I've got a couple of my Grumbacher water brush pens, and basically I'm just going to take some clean water here, and you can do this petal by petal. You can do whatever kind of tickles your fancy, but you know what? I'm going to make this super easy, and I'm going to do all of our petals at once. So this is the beauty of masking off those stamens, because I can literally just paint the water right over top. I don't have to worry about, oh no, I got them wet. So that's the beauty of that masking fluid, because I don't have to really get nitpicky about where my water goes. Because wherever my water goes, that's where my pigments are going to stick. Pigments don't stick to the dry area. So whatever you leave dry, your powders you can blow them right off in a way. So just make sure that you've got all of the areas that you wish to add your powder and your pigments to are wet. Make sure you get out to those edges. The embossing powder actually makes humps, so it makes grooves for all of that fun water to stay within those lines too. So it's very helpful in this technique if you emboss your image. You don't necessarily have to, but it definitely helps. So I'm going to start with my orange, and you can use a lot, you can use a little, and I'm going to try, concentrating my orange sort of down the center of my lily here. And of course, you can add other colors on top of this. And if you look closer, we'll get a little closer here. It's starting to wick out in the water, and water is doing its job here. Let's pull in a little bit more, say, light yellow. So I'm going to pull in yellow. So let's sprinkle some yellow down the center here so we can brighten up our image. So you have to work fairly quickly with this technique, because obviously the water wicks into the paper and it also evaporates. So you want to kind of do this quickly. I'm going to work with my vermilion, which is kind of our salmon-y red. And I'm going to kind of work on the outer edges. I'm going to let those pigments do what they do best. Sometimes you have to give your little pots a quick tap just to get more pigment to come out there. Yeah, so it's however you kind of want to do it. And if you want to, you can go in and basically, using your water brush, you can actually go in and blend a little bit. You don't have to let the powders work solely by themselves. So you can blend in your center areas. You can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of what we do, isn't it? Make it all of your own. There, I think we'll kind of do that. And rinse your brush out, of course. Now, the best thing to do is, if you want it to stay this way, is to let it dry. You can take your heat tool to it, but you're going to push around your water, so be very careful. If this is the effect that you want your petals to look like, then you're probably best just to let it sit. But if you're impatient, then go ahead and go for it and use your heat gun. But I think I'm going to let this one sit, and then we'll go and do our second one. She's dry. Let's go and work on our second one. And by the way, if you get powder and stuff on the background, you can work away at it with water, but just know that some of the pigments are really hard to get out, and gosh darn it, I had to get that deep vermilion color stuck on there. So I did work at wetting it and trying to pull it off with some paper towel, but you know, c'est la vie, will make it somehow work with the end result, and I'm okay with that. So let's get started and working with our second one here. Pull in our clean water again. You're always going to seem to have like these extra stray particles, so be aware. I must have a teeny tiny itty bitty piece of that yellow in there, because it has now invaded this one, but that's okay. All right, so once again, because of that masking, you can go right over top, and with these images being so large and lovely, they're super quick to fill in with your water, and that's partially why I chose them today, just because I knew they would paint up with water quite easily and quickly. All right, and they are such bold and beautiful flowers, I wanted to use them anyway. Okay, here we go. Let's go in with our yellow, because I want this one, I think, to be a little bit lighter than the other one. So there we go. Look at that. So you can put as much or as little as you want. And I think we'll make this one mostly orange, I think. So I'm going in with the same orange color as our other one here. It's quite a deep dark orange. Once again, if you want to manipulate those pigments, absolutely get in there. Push them around in your water so that they become more blended. And if not, and if you want to see it granular, which is kind of neat, especially with lilies, they have all these really unique ones with speckles and spots in them. So you can go hog wild with this. Now, I think I am going to manipulate some of these here, just because there's not as much action on the orange going on over here. So maybe we will play with that just a tiny bit there and blend it out. Just a tiny bit here. Like I said, you can play however you want with this. You can touch it, you can just leave it, you can do whatever your heart desires. There. That is some gorgeous orange. And we'll just pull it a little bit more into the other ones just so they look a little bit more similar to one another. But I'm okay with whatever happens. So that the orange pigment has some, you know, some reds and yellows in it. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's magical. So I think we'll let this dry, and we'll come back and do our background. All right, we've got 2 dry lilies. Let's go in and work on our background here. Now, once again, wherever you put water is where those pigments are going to stick. So if you want to keep it nice and loose, or you want to do spots, or you can even use a stencil and just add water that way, you would actually get the pattern from the stencil, because wherever you put that water is where those pigments are going to activate. So let's start up in our right hand corner here. I think I'm going to kind of leave a randomized edge of just our blank colored paper, our cream color, because it's kind of pretty having a little bit of white. Now, as you can see, we got some stray pigments. I tried to brush off as much as I could, but they're so minute that sometimes you can't even see them. So just be aware that you might have issues with stray colors. I mean, I've got obviously a speck there. You can be as careful as you want, but this stuff is doesn't play nice sometimes. Anyway, this is supposed to be fun and exciting, so let's work with our leaf green. So I'm just doing the upper quadrant. That's all I've added water to. Just need a tappity tap. Come on, little fella. This is quite a unique color. It actually has yellows, blues, and oranges all built into that color, which is way cool. You can see yellow, there's green, there's blue. It's quite exciting. So you can go in and just kind of drop water in without actually touching your brush in. So that'll help them spread a little bit and activate. And then sometimes if you want them to play nice, there you go. Kind of cool. Let's see if we can get just a touch more. You could always go in and add more particles over top. But just know they may not activate as much. See how they're not wicking out as much? It's just because it's drier now, so it's just not gonna play, and that's okay. It's just cool watching all this stuff activate. So once again, I'm going to let this dry and we'll go in and do our last little piece here. So I am going to overlap into that spot and see what happens. And of course it'll wick some of the color because it's quite concentrated. That's all right. Okay, trying to work quickly here. I am trying to get it right along the edge of those petals. We'll see how well I can do here. I'm going to leave that semi-white border. May not happen at this end. Got quite a few stray red powders here. Whoop. Always have some paper towel on hand. Wick up those spots if you're uncomfortable with that. Hopefully our color will be dark enough over top that majority of that red will just disappear. We'll see, won't we? Okay, I think we're good. Now I'm going to do a touch of green, sorry, the leaf green, again towards the center, if I can get it to cooperate here. And then we're going to pull in some Prussian blue at the other end. And see kind of how that wicks together. And of course it's not going to cooperate. We may have to add some water to that. We'll see here. Do a little bit of overlapping. And we'll just see if we can drop some color in to get things moving. But you can leave it all speckled, don't forget. If you get anything outside your bloom, make sure you, as far as water is concerned, make sure you give it a quick wipe down. Just because you could have like a blue spot on it. Not that that would be bad, it's just you may not want that, that's all. Just gonna deepen up those edges there. See if we can get a little water talk in here. Yeah, look at that. That's kind of cool. I just want a little bit more of a transfer. And of course you can use this stuff exactly how your regular watercolors are intended, and put your own dots and speckles and whatever tickles your fancy. Don't be afraid. You can use this like watercolor, make yourself a little palette. Absolutely. So there we go. Wash off my brush. We'll let her dry, and then we'll blow off any stray particles and on to the next step. Okay, now to reveal our stamen. So be aware that you may pick up pigments from around the area. So it may not come out white, but it's a heck of a lot whiter than it might have been. So I use just a white eraser to get rid of the pigments. Now because this is stained and I don't want to go and stain any of the areas over here, I'm just going to take my sanding block and get rid of that color. It comes off really easy. So I can go ahead and use it again and just wipe off the area. I should have done it over the garbage can, but you get the drift. Okay, so taking your eraser, and I found, sorry, if you kind of go from the center out, at least on this image, hopefully can minimize the amount of transfer of those pigments to that white area. And the masking fluid comes off. You could use your finger, but because there is so much texture, I find that the texture of the eraser pulls it off a lot faster, at least in this case. But you could try your finger. It's totally up to you. So there you go. And I may just leave them white because they're kind of pretty. I may add just a touch of shadow, maybe with some gray pencil or some purple pencil to get some shadow down in here where some of them are overlapping. Let's do that. So I've got my polychromos pencil, and this one happens to be light red violet, number 135. And I'm going to go like super, super light and just put a hint where there might be shadow. Just a hint. I'm not even really trying to get color. I'm more so just for the shading factor. It's really, really light. And I'll do the same with the other one here. So there we go. A card panel. Super easy. Wasn't hard. Had some fun. What more can you ask for? Thanks for joining me today. I hope I've inspired you to create something fun and unique. Have a great day, guys.